After Flight 42 passes through a mysterious disturbance, it suddenly finds itself transported back to France in 1940 during World War II. Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is an action-adventure from 2015 titled Flight World War II. The movie starts on a beautiful sunny day when a commercial plane, Iowa 42, sets off on its journey from Dallas to London with pilots William and Daniel in control. At the beginning of the flight, everything seems fine, but soon the flight instruments begin to malfunction. William becomes concerned and contacts ground control for help. However, he is informed that the skies are clear and they should proceed as planned. Their relief is short-lived as a massive storm suddenly looms ahead. Despite ground control's assurance that the storm wasn't there moments ago, the pilots have no choice but to navigate through it. William alerts the passengers about the turbulence they are about to experience. As the plane pushes through the turbulent storm, it shakes violently, alarming the pilots. Strangely, the storm emits an eerie glow as they pass through it. After a while, the plane steadies, and things seem normal again. However, to the pilots' surprise, darkness envelops the sky, as if night descended suddenly. To reassure the passengers, William attributes this phenomenon to a curious effect known to occur when flying over the Bermuda Triangle, hoping to calm their nerves. Nevertheless, the passengers grow concerned when they realize their phones and computers have lost connectivity. Inside the cabin, many of the flight instruments are malfunctioning, and William cannot establish communication with ground control. Despite this setback, the pilots decide to rely on the functioning radar to guide them. Meanwhile, the flight attendants pass out refreshments and offer reassurance to the passengers, downplaying the situation as typical turbulence. Amidst the commotion, Cameron engages in conversation with two historians on board, who are traveling to London for artifact analysis. Notably, an elderly man meticulously records every detail of the unfolding events in his notebook. After a while, the pilots become concerned when they can't detect any other aircraft on their radar. This suggests that the storm might have thrown them off course, which is troubling. In response, William decides to maneuver the plane in a loop, hoping to spot another aircraft. However, even after descending, they fail to recognize their location. Suddenly, something unexpected pops up on their radar. Initially, they mistake it for another storm, but it's far more unsettling. A group of fighter planes engaged in what seems like a wartime bombardment of a city. This sight sends the passengers into a panic as they witness buildings exploding and fires raging below the plane. While the historians observe this chaos, the pilots find themselves surrounded by more fighter planes, poised to attack. Utilizing the radar, the pilots swiftly steer the plane away from danger and ascend higher into the sky. The passengers become increasingly anxious and demand answers, prompting Cameron to do her best to comfort them. However, Michael behaves rudely and aggressively, even going so far as to grab Cameron. Another flight attendant intervenes, threatening to restrain him if he doesn't calm down. Meanwhile, William continues his efforts to establish contact with ground control without success. Realizing they're low on fuel, he decides to descend again in hopes of determining their location. Initially cautious of potential attacks, Daniel acknowledges the urgency of their situation. Amid the chaos, the historians approach Cameron, believing they may have valuable information. Unaware of Michael eavesdropping, they reveal to Cameron and the pilots that the fighter planes they witnessed are of Nazi origin and haven't been in production since 1945. Although skeptical, William ultimately decides to hear them out. The historians suggest that the plane might have traveled back to 1940, placing them in the middle of World War II. They propose that if they were brought there by an anomaly, they must find another anomaly to return to their time. However, William dismisses the idea of time travel, asking them to keep their theory to themselves. Meanwhile, Michael, attempting to avoid notice, quickly returns to his seat as Cameron passes by, deterring his attempts to grab her again. After Cameron leaves, Michael eavesdrops on the historians who continue to explore their theory using books and calculations. Subsequently, the pilots descend once more to search for radio signals. Fortunately, they succeed in establishing contact with a British soldier named Nigel. Nigel, initially skeptical, believes they are spies due to the impossibility of catching a radio signal from a plane flying at such a high altitude. The pilots desperately plead for help, leading William to ask Nigel for the date to confirm their suspicions. Nigel confirms their worst fears. It's June 17th, 1940. Despite their efforts to explain their situation, it seems too far-fetched for Nigel to believe. Fortunately, the historians return with more information, including their approximate location and the revelation that they flew over the spot where the British ship Lancastria was sunk. A fact that shocks Nigel since the ship is supposed to be active. Nigel promises to verify the ship's status with his superior before calling back. While the historians are absent, Michael seizes the opportunity to investigate further, discovering the truth in their books. Enraged by the implications, he stands up and reveals their potential to alter history by stopping World War II, sparking disbelief among most passengers. However, a few individuals take him seriously and agree to assist in hijacking the cockpit. Fortunately, 2 American soldiers are also passengers on the flight, and they swiftly intervene, clarifying that attempting to hijack a cockpit is considered terrorism, regardless of intentions. This intervention sparks a physical altercation, with even the flight attendants joining in. After a brief scuffle, the soldiers manage to subdue the hijackers and compel everyone else to comply with their orders. Shortly after, Nigel establishes contact with them and verifies the accuracy of their information regarding the Lancastria. He acknowledges that their intelligence aided in saving numerous lives, earning their trust. However, Nigel reveals discrepancies in certain historical events, suggesting they are in an alternate version of the past. Despite this revelation, Nigel commits to assisting them in landing the plane, but they must first determine their precise location, which proves challenging given only a rough estimate from William and the historians. Daniel activates their lights to make the plane visible to British soldiers. However, the Germans overhear their conversation and quickly mobilize their forces. Fighter planes encircle them, poised to attack. To evade the onslaught, William, drawing on his piloting expertise, maneuvers the plane skillfully, narrowly dodging the incoming gunfire as terrified passengers scream in fear. As the situation intensifies, William performs a daring maneuver by momentarily allowing the plane to plummet before quickly pulling it back up. This move confuses and overwhelms the pursuing German planes. Despite their best efforts to follow, the aging German aircraft are unable to keep up with William's maneuverability, resulting in several crashes. Unfortunately, 2 enemy planes persist in their pursuit, targeting the cabin and injuring Daniel while also puncturing the plane's exterior. In the meantime, William takes control of the aircraft to avoid any danger while the flight attendants quickly assist Daniel by using their first aid knowledge to treat his injuries and fix the damage to the plane. William becomes more anxious as the aircraft runs low on fuel, and the landing wheels get damaged by enemy fire. Despite his efforts, he struggles to establish communication with Nigel. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, Cameron persuades William to address the passengers and enlist their cooperation. Meanwhile, Nigel's superior informs him that if they don't receive updates from their mystery allies soon, they will destroy the plane to prevent it from falling into German hands. While leaving Daniel in control of the aircraft, William addresses the passengers and discloses the gravity of their situation. He admits that the landing gear sustained damage during the recent attack and emphasizes the need for a collective effort to resolve the issue. An engineer named Teresa steps forward, offering her expertise, which inspires a handyman named Hector to volunteer his assistance. With their combined efforts, they locate and address the problem at the plane's tail, allowing Teresa to begin repairs with Hector's support. After Teresa finished the repairs, she managed to open the door successfully. However, the landing wheel remained stuck due to an obstruction. William offered to descend and address the issue, but Hector insisted that the captain was needed to pilot the plane, so he took on the task. Hector climbed onto the landing wheel, using a hammer to fix the problem. The wheel started moving again, and despite the dangerous situation, Hector managed to hold on, preventing any injuries. William hurries back to the cabin, and with Daniel's help, they descend to regain a radio signal. In contact with Nigel, they inform him of their limited fuel supply, emphasizing the urgent need to land. Unfortunately, their conversation is interrupted as 2 German planes return and launch an attack. This time, a missile detonates dangerously close, shattering all the plane's windows. Amidst the panic, William relies on the radar to track the enemies. executing daring maneuvers that lead to the German planes colliding with each other. Following the chaos, the historians propose a solution, removing the plane's radar and sending it to Nigel for guidance to safety. They find it odd that such technology isn't available yet, suggesting the plane may have been sent to the past to address this deficiency. However, a missile strike on a turbine sends the plane plummeting at high speed. After several attempts, the pilots manage to restore functionality and coordinate with Nigel to determine the best location to drop off the radar system. It was later discovered that the missile had been launched by British forces, which prompted Nigel to order a ceasefire to retrieve the radar. On board the plane, passengers worked together to prepare the package. One passenger contributed toy parachutes that he had bought for his grandchildren, while others offered USB batteries. They wrapped the radar in clothing and a bag and attached it to the parachutes for safe delivery. Once they locate the designated spot, they toss the package from the plane and quickly inform Nigel. Unfortunately, the Nazis intercept their communication and arrive ahead of the British. A German soldier attempts to retrieve the package by climbing a tree, but British soldiers arrive and engage in a firefight. Fortunately, the British prevailed, eliminating the German soldiers and securing the package. Meanwhile, the Nazis dispatch more planes to attack William's aircraft, hitting the plane's side and causing some passengers to fall through a large hole. Despite the intense shaking, William skillfully maneuvers the plane away from danger once again. Upon receiving the radar, Nigel quickly installs it and guides William, even though the Nazi planes were approaching. As the enemy planes prepare to attack, British aircraft, dispatched by Nigel, arrive to defend the commercial plane, ensuring its safe passage. Suddenly, Nigel notices a sizable shadow on the radar that doesn't resemble any known aircraft. Upon closer inspection, they realize it's a storm identical to the one that initially transported them to this time period. William, facing a shortage of fuel, makes a brave decision to steer the plane through the storm, hoping to return to the present time. After saying goodbye to Nigel and advising the passengers to brace themselves, William and Daniel navigate the aircraft through the turbulent weather. Despite the intense shaking, they feel relieved as they finally emerge back in the present time, flying above Berlin. Ground control promptly contacts them, offering an empty runway for landing. The pilots pushed the plane to its limits and managed to land safely, much to the relief of the passengers who were grateful to be home. When William exits the cabin, he discovers the elderly man seated, jotting notes in his notebook. The notebook contains a map resembling the route of their recent journey, labeled "The Radar System That Saved Europe." As the old man closes the book, his name, Nigel, is revealed, indicating that he is the individual who rescued them in 1940. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos.